The towel was the first thing Dahlia Jensen noticed when she opened her eyes after washing her face in the Waterfall spray. And for a moment, she could only stare at the worn linen draped over the rock beside her clothes, trying to understand how it had appeared there without a sound. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she scanned the tree line, water still dripping from her green skin, her small tusks catching slightly on her lower lip as her mouth fell open in shock. Someone had been here. Someone had seen her. And instead of raising an alarm or attacking, they had left her a towel. Dahlia snatched up the fabric and pressed it against herself, suddenly hyper-aware of her vulnerability. Despite the relative privacy of this hidden pool, she had discovered 3 days ago when she first fled into these mountains. The towel smelled clean, like wood smoke and pine, distinctly human. Her pointed ears twitched at every small sound in the forest around her, but whoever had left it was already gone. She dressed quickly, her movements jerky with adrenaline, pulling on the rough spun dress she had stolen from a clothesline in the last village before escaping into the wilderness. The fabric hung awkwardly on her muscular frame, designed for a human woman with softer curves. Everything about her life now felt wrong, ill-fitting, dangerous. Dahlia folded the towel carefully and tucked it under her arm. She should leave it. She should run. But something about the gesture held her frozen, trying to decipher its meaning. In her experience, humans did not show orcs kindness. They showed them the edge of their swords, the business end of their arrows, the inside of their prison cells. She had the scars to prove it. The sun was climbing higher, burning off the morning mist that clung to the waterfall's pool. Dahlia knew she needed to get back to the small cave she had been sheltering in, a half-hour's walk through dense forest. But her eyes kept drifting to the surrounding woods, searching for some sign of her mysterious benefactor. "Thank you," she whispered to the empty air, feeling foolish but unable to stop herself. "Whoever you are." The forest offered no reply. Over the next 2 days, Dahlia found herself returning to the waterfall despite her better judgment. She told herself it was because she needed to bathe, needed the fresh water, needed the fish she could sometimes catch in the deeper pools. But truthfully, she was hoping to see who had left her that towel. The mystery of it consumed her thoughts during the long, lonely hours in her cave. On the 3rd morning, she arrived at dawn to find a small bundle wrapped in oilcloth waiting on the same rock. Her breath caught. Inside were 2 apples, slightly wrinkled but still good, a chunk of hard cheese, and a piece of dried meat. No note, no explanation. Just food which she desperately needed. Dahlia's eyes burned with unexpected tears. She had been surviving on foraged berries, roots, and the occasional fish, never quite getting enough to silence the constant ache in her belly. This simple gift felt like mercy, and she had experienced so little mercy in her 22 years that she hardly knew how to process the feeling. She ate 1 apple slowly, savoring every bite, then carefully wrapped the rest to take back to her cave. Before she left, she placed a small pile of wild strawberries she had gathered the day before on the rock, a meager offering but the only thanks she could give. The pattern continued. Every few days, a small gift would appear, sometimes food. Once, a better dress in a size that might actually fit her. Another time, a worn but serviceable knife. And always Dahlia left something in return. Berries, useful herbs from the forest, a carved wooden figure of a bird she had whittled to pass the time. She never saw him, but she became certain her benefactor was male from the size of a boot print she found once in the soft mud near the pool. Human, definitely human. Large, and apparently determined to remain invisible, it was both comforting and maddening. Dahlia found herself talking to him sometimes as she bathed or fished, one-sided conversations directed at the forest. "I wonder what you look like," she mused one morning, her toes dangling in the cool water. "I wonder why you are doing this. You must know what I am." The trees kept their secrets. A month passed this way. Summer deepened, the days growing longer and warmer. Dahlia's cave became more of a home, her existence more of a life rather than mere survival. The regular gifts of food meant she had energy to improve her shelter, to explore the surrounding area, to think about things beyond the basic necessities of staying alive. But she was lonely. Orcs were not solitary by nature, and Dahlia had been alone now for longer than at any point in her life. Her clan had exiled her for her human sympathies, calling her weak and corrupted. The humans had never accepted her either, despite her attempts to integrate peacefully into their settlements. She existed in a liminal space, belonging nowhere, wanted by no one. Except, apparently, by one mysterious stranger who left her towels and apples and asked nothing in return. On a bright morning in late July, Dahlia decided she had waited long enough. She would stay at the waterfall, stay all day if necessary, until her secret guardian appeared. She needed to see him, to understand who would show such kindness to someone like her. She positioned herself on a smooth rock near the pool where she could see the main approaches, and she waited. Hours passed. The sun climbed and peaked and began its descent. Dahlia's patience, worn thin by weeks of mystery, began to fray. Maybe he would not come today. Maybe he only visited at night. Maybe she would never see him, doomed to receive anonymous charity from a phantom forever. Then, just as the afternoon light turned golden, she heard footsteps. Deliberate, unhurried. Not trying to be silent, Dahlia's breath stopped. She stayed very still as a figure emerged from the tree line on the far side of the pool. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with brown hair that fell past his collar and a beard that was neatly trimmed. His clothes marked him as someone who worked outdoors, practical and weather-worn. He carried a pack over one shoulder and moved with the easy confidence of someone comfortable in the wilderness. And he froze the instant he saw her, just as she had frozen at the sight of him. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other across the water. Dahlia took in his sun-browned skin, the strong line of his jaw, the startled expression in his blue-green eyes. He was perhaps 30, she guessed, with the kind of quiet strength that came from years of hard work rather than violence. He was also, she realized with a jolt, extremely handsome by any standard, human or orc. "You stayed," he said finally, his voice deep and slightly rough, as if he did not use it often. "I wanted to see you," Dahlia replied, proud that her voice came out steady despite the racing of her heart. "To thank you properly, for your kindness." He shifted his weight, looking almost uncomfortable. "No thanks necessary." "I disagree." Dahlia stood slowly, not wanting to spook him, aware that they were two different species alone in an isolated place, and that could mean danger for either of them. "You have been keeping me alive." "That deserves thanks." His eyes traveled over her, not lewdly but with clear curiosity, taking in her green skin, her tusks, her muscular build. To her surprise, his expression held no disgust, only interest and something that might have been admiration. "You were keeping yourself alive," he said. "I just helped a little. More than a little." Dahlia took a careful step closer to the water's edge. "I am Dahlia Jensen." The use of a human surname seemed to surprise him. His eyebrows rose slightly. Owen Porter. It is nice to finally meet you, Owen Porter." A small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, transforming his face from merely handsome to genuinely warm. "Nice to meet you too, Dahlia Jensen, though I suppose we have been meeting in a way for over a month now. An unusual way to make acquaintance. I did not know how else to do it." Owen set down his pack and moved closer to the pool's edge on his side. I come here to fish sometimes. I saw you that first morning and you looked so startled, so scared. I thought if I approached, you would run, so I left the towel instead. Why? The question burst from Dahlia before she could stop it. Why help me at all? You know what I am. I know what you are. Owen's voice was quiet but firm. I also know you are alone out here trying to survive, not hurting anyone. That seemed like enough reason to help. Dahlia felt that burning in her eyes again, the threat of tears she refused to shed. Most humans would not see it that way. I am not most humans. They fell into silence, regarding each other across the water. Dahlia was acutely aware of how he looked at her, without fear or hatred, just open curiosity and something softer she could not quite name. It had been so long since anyone had looked at her like she was a person rather than a monster or a problem to be solved. The fish are good in this pool, Owen said eventually, if you know where to look. I have caught a few, not as many as I would like. I could show you if you wanted. It was a simple offer, but it felt momentous. An invitation to spend time together, to move beyond anonymous gifts left on rocks. Dahlia knew she should be cautious. She had been betrayed before, had learned that human kindness often came with strings attached, but she was so tired of being alone. And something about Owen Porter seemed genuine in a way she wanted desperately to trust. I would like that, she said. Owen's smile widened, crinkling the corners of his eyes. He began pulling off his boots. The best fishing spot is on your side. I will have to wade across. Dahlia watched as he rolled up his pant legs and stepped into the pool. The water came up to his knees in the shallow parts, deeper in the middle where the current ran stronger. He moved carefully, finding secure footing on the rocky bottom, and she found herself holding her breath until he made it safely to her side. Up close, he was even taller than she had thought, perhaps a hand's width more than her own considerable height. He smelled like wood smoke and leather and honest sweat, and when he looked down at her, his expression was open and friendly. Come on, he said. I will show you where the big ones hide. They spent the rest of the afternoon fishing together. Owen was patient and knowledgeable, pointing out the subtle signs of fish in the water, showing her how to read the currents, teaching her tricks for hook setting and landing that she had never learned. He spoke easily once he warmed up, telling her about the area, the seasonal changes in the waterfall's flow, the wildlife that came to drink. He did not ask her probing questions about her past or what had brought her to these mountains, and she was grateful for his restraint. Instead, they talked about simple things: the weather, the forest, the particular stubbornness of the trout in this pool. By the time the sun began to set, Dahlia had caught more fish than in her entire month in the wilderness. She felt the happiest she had been since leaving her clan, maybe even before that. You should take most of these, Owen said as they laid out their catch on the rocks. You need them more than I do. We could share them, Dahlia countered. You did most of the work. We both did the work. Owen started cleaning the fish with practiced efficiency, and after a moment, Dahlia joined him. Their hands moved in comfortable synchronicity, and she marveled at how natural it felt to work beside him. You live nearby? She asked. About an hour's walk. I have a cabin and some land. Small holding, just me and my goats. He glanced at her. Do you have a good shelter, a cave? It is dry and defensible. It will do until winter. Owen's brow furrowed. Winter is hard in these mountains. The cave might not be enough. I will manage. Dahlia kept her voice light, but the truth was she had not let herself think too hard about winter. She was taking each day as it came, trying not to imagine freezing in a snow-filled cave. Dahlia. Owen stopped working and turned to face her fully. I am not trying to pry, but are you running from something? Is someone looking for you? She considered lying, but his eyes were too honest, too concerned. My clan exiled me. They will not come looking, and the humans in the valleys below think I moved on months ago. I do not believe anyone is searching. Why did they exile you? His voice was gentle, making it a question she could refuse to answer if she wanted, but Dahlia found she wanted him to know, wanted someone to understand. I tried to make peace with a human settlement near our territory. I thought if we traded and communicated, it would be better for everyone. My clan called me a traitor. They said I was weak, that I had betrayed orc pride by showing respect to humans. Owen's jaw tightened. That is not weakness. That is bravery. The settlement did not see it that way either. They thought I was a spy or a trick. They drove me out. Dahlia returned to cleaning the fish, needing something to do with her hands. So I came here, away from everyone. I am sorry that happened to you. Owen's words were simple but felt sincere. For what it is worth, I think you did the right thing. The world needs more people willing to build bridges instead of walls. Dahlia looked up at him, this human man who had shown her nothing but kindness, and felt something shift in her chest. A tentative, fragile hope that maybe she was not as alone as she had thought. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. Not just the fish and the food, but for this, for treating me like a person. Owen held her gaze, and for a moment the air between them felt charged with something Dahlia could not quite name. Then he smiled, soft and genuine. Same time tomorrow, I can bring more fishing hooks, teach you how to set a proper line. I would like that very much. They divided the fish, said their goodbyes, and went their separate ways as twilight gathered. Dahlia walked back to her cave with a lightness in her step she had not felt in months. She had a friend, or at least the beginning of one. That night, as she cooked her portion of fish over a small fire, Dahlia let herself imagine what it might be like to know Owen Porter better. To have someone to talk to share meals with, to laugh with. She had not realized how much she missed laughter until this afternoon when Owen had made a joke about a particularly stubborn fish, and she had found herself giggling like a much younger orc. It was dangerous to want things. Wanting led to disappointment, and disappointment led to pain. But as Dahlia lay down to sleep on her bed of gathered pine boughs, she let herself want just for tonight. Want friendship, want connection, want the simple comfort of not being alone. She dreamed of blue-green eyes and a smile that made her feel seen. Owen was waiting by the waterfall when Dahlia arrived the next morning, and the morning after that, and the morning after that. It became routine. They would fish, sometimes hunt for edible plants, occasionally just sit and talk while the water roared and misted around them. Owen brought small luxuries from his cabin: a jar of honey, a wedge of soap, a comb for her long dark hair. Dahlia brought him carvings she made in the evenings, small animal figures that he seemed to genuinely treasure. Summer aged into early autumn. The leaves began to turn, painting the forest in shades of gold and crimson. The air grew crisper, especially in the mornings, and Dahlia felt herself growing closer to Owen in ways that both excited and terrified her. She noticed things about him she had not let herself see at first. The way his hands moved with careful precision, the rumbling quality of his laugh, how his eyes crinkled when she said something that amused him, the surprising gentleness in someone so physically strong, and she noticed how he looked at her sometimes, when he thought she was not paying attention. Like she was something precious, something beautiful. It was absurd, of course. Humans did not find orcs beautiful. Their green skin and tusks and pointed ears were marks of monstrosity in human eyes. But Owen looked at her like he had forgotten she was supposed to be a monster, or had never believed it in the first place. One afternoon in late September, they were sitting on the rocks after fishing, letting the sun warm them. Owen had been quieter than usual, and Dahlia finally asked what was on his mind. "Winter," he said simply. "I keep thinking about you in that cave when the snow comes. I told you I will manage, Dahlia." He turned to face her, his expression serious. "I have lived in these mountains for 8 years. I know what winter is like here. You will freeze. What do you suggest I do?" She tried to keep the defensiveness out of her voice and mostly succeeded. "I cannot exactly walk into a village and rent a room." Owen was quiet for a long moment, and Dahlia could see him working up to something. Finally, he spoke. "You could stay at my cabin. There is space. You would be safe and warm." The offer hung between them, enormous and fraught with implications. Dahlia's heart raced. "Owen, I cannot. If anyone found out you were sheltering an orc, you would be, my cabin is remote. No one comes out that far, especially not in winter. You would not have to hide." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and gently took her hand. His skin was warm and calloused against hers. "I hate the thought of you cold and hungry when I have space and food to share. Please, let me help you." Dahlia stared at their joined hands, green and brown, so different yet fitting together perfectly. She knew she should refuse. Accepting would put Owen at risk, would complicate things between them, would require a level of trust she was not sure she could give. But the thought of a warm cabin instead of a freezing cave, of company instead of isolation, of more time with Owen, it was more temptation than she could resist. "If you are sure," she said quietly, "I am sure." Owen squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. "We can move you in before the first snow, probably have a few weeks still." They made plans. Owen would help her move her meager possessions from the cave. They would work out a system for sharing space and chores. It would be practical, sensible, just 2 people helping each other survive. But as Dahlia watched Owen's animated face while he described the layout of his cabin and where she could sleep, and how they would manage food stores, she knew in her heart it was already more than practical. She was falling for him. Had been falling for him for weeks now, maybe from the moment she found that first towel left on the rock. It was foolish and dangerous and probably hopeless, but her heart did not seem to care about any of those things. The move happened on a crisp October morning. Owen brought a small cart and helped Dahlia carry her few belongings from the cave to his cabin. The journey took most of the day, winding through forest trails that clearly saw little use. Owen's homestead, when they finally reached it, was even more isolated than Dahlia had imagined. The cabin was well built and tidy, surrounded by a small cleared area with a vegetable garden, a goat pen, and a shed for storage. Smoke curled from the chimney, and through the windows Dahlia could see warm light from a fire inside. "It is not much," Owen said, suddenly seeming nervous. "But it is solid and warm." "It is perfect," Dahlia breathed. After months in a cave, it looked like a palace. Inside was a single room with a sleeping loft accessible by a ladder, a large fireplace with a cooking area, a simple table with 2 chairs and various shelves and storage. Clean and organized if sparse, very much a bachelor's dwelling. "You can have the loft," Owen said, setting down her things. "More privacy up there. I will sleep down here by the fire." Dahlia climbed the ladder to look. The loft was a small space under the eaves with a real bed, a chest for storage, and a small window that looked out over the forest. It was easily the nicest sleeping arrangement she had had in years. "Owen, this is your bed," she called down. "I cannot take it from you. You are not taking it. I am giving it." His tone left no room for argument. "Besides, I am used to sleeping rough. Does not bother me." They spent the rest of the day getting Dahlia settled and working on the last of the harvest from Owen's garden before the first hard frost. It was strange and wonderful to work alongside him, to move through domestic tasks together. Owen showed her where he kept things, explained his routines, made space for her in his life with a generosity that made her chest ache. That evening they cooked dinner together, a hearty stew from vegetables and the last of some salted pork. They ate at the small table, knees occasionally bumping in the confined space, and talked about plans for winter. Firewood to chop, food stores to supplement with hunting, repairs to make before the snow flew. It felt absurdly domestic. It felt like home. After dinner, Dahlia insisted on cleaning up while Owen did some work in the shed. She was washing dishes in a bucket of warm water when she heard a sound from outside, voices, multiple people, and they were getting closer. Terror shot through her. She looked around wildly for a place to hide, but there was nowhere in the single room that would conceal her. The loft, maybe. If she moved fast enough, the door burst open and 3 men strode in without knocking. Hunters, from the look of them, with bows and knives. They stopped dead when they saw Dahlia standing at Owen's table. "What in the hells?" the lead hunter sputtered. He was middle-aged, weathered, with suspicious eyes. "An orc. Porter, there is an orc in your cabin." Owen appeared in the doorway behind them, and Dahlia saw tension lock his shoulders. "She is my guest," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "She is not a threat. Not a threat." The second hunter, younger and more aggressive, put his hand on his knife. "It is a damn orc. What is wrong with you? Her name is Dahlia, and she is staying with me for the winter." Owen moved past them to stand beside Dahlia, a clear statement of where his loyalty lay. "That is not your concern." "The hell it is not." The lead hunter's face was reddening. "We have families in these mountains. Children. You are harboring a monster." Dahlia felt herself shrinking under their hostile stares. Every word confirming what she already knew. Humans saw her as a thing to be feared and destroyed, not a person worthy of basic dignity. But Owen stepped fully in front of her, blocking her from their view. "Dahlia has been living peacefully in these woods for months. She has not hurt anyone. She will not hurt anyone. Now I think you gentlemen should leave. You are making a mistake, Porter." The lead hunter shook his head. "A bad one. When the settlers hear about this, the settlers are a 2-day ride away and they have no authority over my land or my choices." Owen's voice was hard now, brooking no argument. "This is my home. She is my guest. That is the end of the discussion." The 3 hunters exchanged dark looks. "This is not over," the aggressive one said. "You are putting us all at risk. Get out." Owen's voice was quiet but absolutely firm. Now they left, muttering threats and dire warnings. Owen barred the door behind them and stood there for a moment, his back to Dahlia, his shoulders tight with tension. "I am sorry," Dahlia whispered. "I have brought trouble to you. I should leave." "No." Owen turned to face her, and his eyes were blazing with an emotion she could not quite name. "You are not leaving. This is your home now, too. Owen, they will tell others. They will make things difficult for you. Let them." He crossed to where she stood, took her hands in his. "Dahlia, I do not care what they think. I do not care if they disapprove or spread gossip or make threats. You are not going back out into the cold because some closed-minded fools cannot see past their own prejudices. But no buts." His grip on her hands tightened. "You matter to me. Your safety, your well-being, they matter more than what anyone else thinks." Dahlia stared up at him, hardly able to breathe. The way he was looking at her, the intensity in his voice, it was not just friendly concern. It was something deeper, something that matched the feelings she had been trying so hard to deny in herself. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Why do I matter so much to you?" Owen's eyes searched her face, and she saw the moment he decided to tell her the truth. "Because I care about you, Dahlia, more than I should, probably. More than is wise, definitely, but I cannot seem to stop. You are," he paused, seeming to search for words. You are brave and kind and clever. You make me laugh. You see the world in ways I never considered. And when I am with you, I am happier than I have been in years, maybe ever." Tears were streaming freely down Dahlia's face now. "I care about you too," she whispered. "So much it scares me." "It scares me too," Owen admitted. "The whole world will tell us this is wrong. Both our people will hate it. It will be difficult and complicated and probably painful." "Then why? Because you are worth it." He said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Whatever comes, you are worth it." Dahlia made a small, broken sound and pulled her hands free only to throw her arms around Owen's neck and hold him like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. His arms came around her immediately, pulling her close, and she buried her face against his shoulder and let herself cry. Owen held her through it, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring soft reassurances. When she finally calmed, he pulled back just enough to look at her face. "We will figure this out," he promised. "Together." "All right," Dahlia nodded, not trusting her voice. Owen smiled and gently wiped the tears from her cheeks with his thumbs, the gesture so tender it made her want to start crying again. That night, Dahlia lay in the loft bed and listened to Owen moving around below, banking the fire and settling down to sleep. Everything had changed. The fragile hope she had been nursing for weeks had transformed into something real and terrifying and precious. Owen cared for her. She cared for him. In a world that would see them both destroyed for it, they had found each other. Dahlia did not know what would happen next. But as she drifted off to sleep in a warm bed in a safe cabin, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could build something good together despite all the odds against them. The next few weeks were a strange period of adjustment. Owen and Dahlia settled into a domestic routine that felt both foreign and natural. They worked together on the daily tasks of maintaining the homestead, tending the goats, chopping firewood, preserving food for winter. In the evenings, they would cook dinner together, then sit by the fire talking or working on small projects. Owen would carve tool handles or repair equipment while Dahlia made her small wooden figures or mended clothes. They did not speak again about the feelings they had confessed, but the knowledge of them hung in the air like a presence, coloring every interaction. Dahlia found herself hyper-aware of Owen's proximity, the brush of his hand when he passed her something, the low rumble of his voice. And she caught him watching her sometimes with an expression that made her stomach flutter. But they were careful with each other, maintaining a respectful distance, perhaps both afraid of what might happen if they crossed certain lines. The hunters did not return, but their visit cast a shadow. Owen became more vigilant, more protective. He insisted Dahlia stay inside if he saw smoke from other homesteads or heard sounds that might indicate visitors. It chafed at her to hide, to be treated like something shameful, but she understood his concern. Then, in early November, a early snowstorm rolled through the mountains. It was not the deep snow of midwinter, but enough to blanket the world in white and send temperatures plummeting. Dahlia was profoundly grateful to be in the cabin rather than her cave. On the second night of the storm, with wind howling around the cabin and snow piling against the walls, Owen could not get the fire to draw properly. Smoke backed up into the room, and despite their best efforts, the cabin grew cold. "The chimney must be partially blocked," Owen said, coughing. "I need to get up on the roof and clear it. In this storm, Owen, no, it is too dangerous. We will freeze if I do not." He was already pulling on his heaviest coat. "I will be careful." Dahlia wanted to argue more but knew he was right. She helped him gather what he needed and watched with a sick feeling in her stomach as he climbed up to the roof. Through the window, she could barely see him in the swirling snow, a dark shape moving against white. Then she heard a shout. A sickening thud and silence. Her heart stopped. She threw open the door and plunged into the storm, snow immediately soaking through her clothes. Owen! He was lying in a drift at the side of the cabin, clearly having slipped and fallen. As Dahlia rushed to him, he groaned and tried to sit up. "Do not move," she commanded, dropping to her knees beside him. "Let me check you first." "I am fine," Owen gritted out, but his face was pale with pain. "Just knock the wind out of me." Dahlia's hands moved over him, checking for obvious breaks or bleeding. His left arm was cradled against his chest, and when she gently probed his wrist, he hissed in pain. "Broken," she said grimly. "We need to get you inside." She helped him stand, and together they stumbled back into the smoke-filled cabin. Dahlia got Owen settled in his chair by the smoldering fire, then grabbed blankets and her small kit of medical supplies, a collection of herbs and cloth bandages she had assembled over the months. "I am going up on the roof," she announced. "Dahlia, no, you cannot do it with one arm, and we will freeze if the chimney stays blocked." She was already pulling on Owen's coat, too large for her but better than nothing. "I am strong. I will not fall." Before Owen could argue further, she went outside and climbed to the roof, moving carefully on the slippery surface. The wind tried to tear her away, but her orc strength and low center of gravity served her well. She found the problem: a large branch had fallen and gotten wedged in the chimney top. It took several minutes of hard work, but she managed to clear it. Smoke immediately began pouring freely again. Dahlia climbed down and returned inside to find the cabin already warming as the fire drew properly. Owen was watching her with something like awe. "Thank you," he said simply. "Let me see that arm." Dahlia knelt beside his chair and began carefully examining his wrist. It was definitely broken. She could feel the slight displacement under the swelling skin. "This is going to hurt." "I trust you," Owen said, and the simple faith in his voice steadied her. Dahlia had set bones before, for members of her clan who were injured. She worked as gently as she could, realigning the break while Owen bit down on a piece of leather to muffle his cries of pain. Once it was set, she splinted it carefully with wooden slats and strips of cloth, then made him a sling. "You did well," Owen said when it was done, his voice hoarse. "Where did you learn healing?" "My mother was a healer. She taught me before she died." Dahlia stood and mixed a tea from herbs that would help with pain and inflammation. "You will need to keep this splinted for at least 6 weeks. No heavy work." Owen accepted the tea with his good hand. "That is going to make winter preparations difficult. I will do the heavy work." When he started to protest, she cut him off. "Owen, I am stronger than I look. Actually, I am stronger than you look. Orc strength, remember? I can handle chopping wood and caring for the animals. I do not want you to have to. You took me in. You kept me from freezing. Let me help you now." Dahlia sat down across from him. "Please, I want to take care of you." Something shifted in Owen's expression. He reached out with his good hand and Dahlia took it, their fingers interlacing. "We are quite a pair," he said with a weak smile. "Both of us stubborn as mules. I think we balance each other well." They sat like that for a long time, hands joined, fire crackling while the storm raged outside. Dahlia felt a fierce protectiveness rise in her chest. Owen had defended her, sheltered her, cared for her. Now it was her turn to do the same. The next weeks proved her right about her strength. Despite Owen's injury severely limiting what he could do, the homestead continued to function because Dahlia took on the heavy labor. She chopped firewood with an efficiency that amazed Owen, stacking enough to last through the worst of winter. She hauled water, tended the goats, cleared snow from paths. Her muscles, already impressive, became even more defined from the constant work. Owen did what he could: one-handed cooking, some repairs, managing the household side of things. They fell into a new rhythm. one where Dahlia was clearly the physical strength of their partnership. And rather than seeming bothered by this reversal of typical gender roles, Owen appeared to appreciate it. "You are magnificent," he said one evening, watching her come in from chopping wood, her arms full of logs, barely winded despite the load. "Truly, I have never seen anyone work like you do." Dahlia felt her cheeks warm with pleasure at the compliment. "It is just work. It is more than that. You are keeping us alive this winter." Owen moved closer, his good hand rising as if to touch her face, then falling back. "I know I have said it before, but thank you for everything." The space between them felt charged, heavy with unspoken things. They were standing so close Dahlia could feel the heat radiating from Owen's body, could see the pulse beating in his throat. She wanted to close the distance, wanted to know what it would feel like to kiss him, but fear held her back. What if she was too rough? What if her tusks got in the way? What if he was only being kind and did not actually want her like that? Owen seemed to be having similar thoughts, uncertainty flickering across his face. Finally, he stepped back, breaking the moment. "I should check on the fire," he said, his voice slightly rough. Dahlia nodded, not trusting herself to speak, and went to put away the firewood. That night, lying in the loft bed, she could not sleep. Her body felt restless, her mind churning with thoughts of Owen. She had fallen completely, irrevocably in love with him. Not just for his kindness or his acceptance, but for who he was as a person. His gentle humor, his quiet strength, the way he saw the world with both pragmatism and wonder. She loved him, and it was both the best and worst thing that had ever happened to her. Because what future could they possibly have? Even if Owen returned her feelings fully, even if they were willing to face the prejudice and danger, where could they go? Her clan would never accept him. Human society would never accept her. They would always be outsiders, always be threatened. But as Dahlia finally drifted off to sleep, she decided she did not care. Whatever time they had together, however they could have it, would be worth any cost. Owen's wrist healed slowly over the following weeks. Dahlia changed his splint regularly, checking the alignment, making sure everything was mending properly. These ministrations required close contact, and Dahlia both treasured and dreaded them: the intimacy of caring for him, the torture of being so close yet maintaining appropriate distance. December arrived with deep snows that isolated them completely from the outside world. Not that there had been much contact anyway, but now they were truly alone, cut off by drifts that reached the cabin's windows. They settled into an even more domestic existence. Their world shrunk to the warm interior of the cabin and the immediate needs of survival. On a cold evening in mid-December, they were sitting by the fire after dinner. Owen had been quiet all day, clearly working up to something. Finally, he spoke. "Dahlia, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Why did you really try to make peace between your clan and that human settlement?" Owen turned to face her fully. "I know you said you thought it would be better for everyone, but there must have been more to it than that." Dahlia was quiet for a long moment, deciding how much to reveal. "My mother," she said finally. "Before she died, she told me about the wars between our peoples, all the death and suffering on both sides. She said someone needed to be brave enough to stop the cycle, to choose peace over pride. I thought I could be that person." "That is exactly what I thought." Owen's voice was soft. "You have a good heart, Dahlia, better than most humans I have known, better than most people of any race. What happened to you was not fair. Life is rarely fair." "No. But sometimes it gives us unexpected gifts." Owen reached out and took her hand, a gesture that had become common between them. "You showing up at that waterfall, that was a gift. Getting to know you, having you here, those are gifts I do not take for granted." Dahlia's breath caught. "Owen, I am in love with you." The words came out in a rush, like he had been holding them back for too long. "I know I should not be. I know it is complicated and dangerous and probably foolish, but I am. I love you, Dahlia. I have for a while now." Tears sprang to Dahlia's eyes. "I love you too," she whispered. "So much. I was afraid to say it, afraid of what it would mean. It means we are in this together, whatever comes." Owen cupped her face with his good hand, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. "Can I kiss you?" "I do not know how," Dahlia admitted, embarrassed. "I mean, with my tusks, I am afraid I might hurt you. We will figure it out together." Owen leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. "Just follow my lead." Their first kiss was tentative, careful, both of them learning the shape of each other. Dahlia's tusks were not as much of an obstacle as she feared, and Owen adjusted his angle naturally to accommodate them. When he deepened the kiss, she made a small sound of pleasure and leaned into him. They kissed for a long time by the firelight, gentle and exploratory, learning this new language of affection. Owen's hand tangled in her hair, and Dahlia rested her palm against his chest, feeling his heart racing as fast as hers. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Owen rested his forehead against hers. "That was worth waiting for," he said with a slight laugh. "It was." Dahlia could not stop smiling. "Can we do it again, as often as you want?" They spent the rest of the evening cuddled together by the fire, stealing kisses and talking about everything and nothing. It felt like the whole world had shifted into sharper focus, colors brighter, sensations more intense. Dahlia had never been so happy. When it came time to sleep, Owen pulled her close one more time. "I know we are taking this slow," he murmured against her hair, "but I want you to know I am committed to you, to us, for as long as you will have me." "Forever," Dahlia said without hesitation. "I want forever with you." "Then forever it is." Dahlia climbed to the loft that night with a heart so full she thought it might burst. She loved him. He loved her. Against all odds, in the middle of isolation and prejudice and danger, they had found each other and chosen each other. She knew the challenges ahead would be immense. She knew the world would fight them every step of the way. But lying in that warm bed, replaying every kiss in her mind, she felt invincible. Winter deepened. Snow piled higher. And inside their small cabin, Dahlia and Owen built a life together. They were more openly affectionate now, stealing kisses while cooking, holding hands by the fire, finding excuses to touch. But they still maintained separate sleeping spaces, both conscious of wanting to do this right, to build a foundation of respect and genuine partnership before taking further physical steps. In early January, on a clear, cold day, Dahlia was outside tending the goats when she heard the sound of approaching horses. Her blood ran cold. She rushed inside to find Owen already at the window, his face grim. "5 riders," he said. "Armed. I think they are from the settlement." "I will hide, no." Owen took her hand. "No more hiding, we face this together." "Owen, they could hurt you because of me. Then we face that too." His jaw was set in a way she had come to recognize as his most stubborn. "I am not ashamed of you or us. If they have come to make trouble, they will find I am not easily moved." The riders pulled up outside, and Owen went to the door with Dahlia at his side. She was terrified but also proud of him, proud of herself for not running, proud of what they had built. The lead rider was a woman, middle-aged and severe, with the bearing of authority. "Owen Porter," she called. "That is me." Owen stepped outside, and Dahlia followed despite his subtle attempt to keep her inside. The woman's eyes widened slightly at the sight of Dahlia, but she kept her composure. "I am Constable Margaret Reid from the settlement. We received reports that you are harboring an orc." "She is not being harbored. Her name is Dahlia Jensen, and she is my partner. This is her home as much as mine. Murmurs from the other riders. Constable Reed held up a hand for silence. Mr. Porter, I am sure you understand this presents a problem. The settlers are concerned. Orcs and humans do not mix. There are laws. There are no laws on my land except the ones I choose, Owen interrupted. Dahlia has done nothing wrong. She has harmed no one. She has every right to be here. The people are frightened. Then the people need to meet her and see for themselves that she poses no threat. Owen's voice was firm. Fear comes from ignorance. I will not enable it by hiding her away like something shameful. Constable Reed studied them both for a long moment. Her eyes went to Dahlia. You are the one who tried to make peace between the clans and the settlement south of here, are you not? I heard about that. Heard your own people cast you out for it. Dahlia found her voice. Yes, Constable. I believed then and still believe that our peoples can coexist peacefully. I have no desire for conflict. And yet your presence here creates conflict simply by existing. With respect, Constable, that is not my fault, Dahlia said, drawing herself up to her full height. I cannot control other people's prejudices. I can only control my own actions, and my actions have been peaceful. One of the other riders, an older man, spoke up. We cannot have an orc living among us. What is next? More of them coming. Should we just open our doors to all the clans? One person asking for basic dignity is not an invasion, Owen said coldly. Dahlia is not a threat. She is my partner and she stays. You would risk your standing in the community for this, Constable Reed asked. Your ability to trade, to interact with your neighbors. If my neighbors are so small-minded they cannot accept Dahlia, then they are not neighbors I value anyway. The riders exchanged looks. Dahlia could feel the tension, the precarious balance of this moment. Everything could go wrong so quickly. Then Constable Reed sighed. Mr. Porter, I will be honest with you. The law is murky on this. You are on your own land. She has committed no crime that we can prove, and forced removal of a peaceful individual is more trouble than it is worth. However, she fixed Owen with a hard stare. If there is any trouble, any hint that she has harmed someone or caused problems, I will have no choice but to act. Do you understand? There will be no trouble, Owen said firmly. And you? Constable Reed turned to Dahlia. You will have no legal protections. If someone attacks you, claims self-defense, the law will likely side with them over you. You are putting yourself in danger by being here. I understand, Dahlia said quietly, but I would rather live in danger with Owen than in safety alone. Something flickered across the constable's face, not approval exactly, but perhaps a grudging respect. Very well. I will tell the settlement that the situation has been assessed and is being monitored. But I strongly suggest you both keep a low profile. Do not give people reasons to be afraid. Thank you, Constable, Owen said. The riders turned to leave, but the older man who had spoken before looked back. You are making a mistake, Porter. Mark my words. This will not end well. They rode away, leaving Owen and Dahlia standing in the cold. Once they were out of sight, Dahlia's knees nearly buckled with relief. Owen caught her and pulled her into an embrace. That could have gone much worse, she breathed. It could have gone much better too. Owen's arms tightened around her. But we survived. That is what matters. They went back inside, both shaken by the encounter. Dahlia made tea while Owen added more wood to the fire, and they sat close together on the bench, needing the comfort of physical contact. I am sorry, Dahlia said quietly. I have made your life complicated. You have made my life better. Owen took her hand and pressed it to his heart. Complicated, yes, but better. I would not trade you for anything, Dahlia, even for an easier life, especially not for that. He kissed her temple. Easy is not always good. You are good, we are good. That is all that matters. Dahlia leaned into him, drawing strength from his certainty. She had spent so much of her life being told she was wrong, that her desire for peace was weakness, that she did not belong anywhere. But with Owen, she belonged. She was wanted. She was loved. "We should be prepared," Owen said after a while. "In case someone comes with worse intentions than the constable, I can teach you to use my bow. Make sure you know how to defend yourself properly." "I can fight," Dahlia assured him. "Orcs train from childhood. Even so, humor me." So over the next weeks, Owen taught Dahlia archery, and she taught him some of the hand-to-hand combat techniques of orc warriors. It was partly practical, but also an excuse to spend time together, to touch and laugh and play at being fierce. Owen was surprisingly good at adapting to the orc fighting style, using his size and strength to good effect. "You would have made a decent orc warrior," Dahlia teased him one afternoon after he successfully pinned her. "I will take that as the compliment it was meant to be," Owen replied, grinning down at her. They were lying in the snow, both breathing hard from exertion, and Dahlia was acutely aware of his weight on her, his face close to hers. The playfulness drained from the moment, replaced by something heavier. "Owen," she whispered, "I know." His eyes were dark with want. "I feel it too. Your wrist is healed now. It is. We have been patient, very patient. I love you. I love you too." Owen lowered his head and kissed her deeply, and this kiss was different from the gentle ones they had been sharing. This was hungry, urgent, full of all the longing they had been holding back. When they finally broke apart, both were shaking. "Inside," Owen said roughly. "We should go inside." They stumbled back to the cabin together, shedding snow and clothes as they went. What followed was tender and passionate, two people learning each other's bodies with care and wonder. Owen was patient and attentive, making sure Dahlia felt safe and cherished. And Dahlia discovered that her fears about their physical differences were unfounded. They fit together perfectly, as if they were designed for each other. Afterwards, they lay tangled together in Owen's bed by the fire, the one he had insisted she take months ago. Dahlia traced patterns on his chest, marveling at the contentment she felt. "That was," she began. "Incredible," Owen finished. "You are incredible." "I was going to say unexpected, but incredible works too." Owen laughed and pulled her closer. "Move down here permanently," he said. "No more separate sleeping spaces. I want to fall asleep with you and wake up with you every day." "Are you sure? People might talk." "Let them talk. You are mine and I am yours. Everyone else can think what they want." Dahlia kissed him softly. "Then yes, I would love nothing more." They stayed in bed for the rest of the day, talking and touching and learning each other in ways both physical and emotional. It felt like the final piece clicking into place, the last barrier between them falling away. That night, truly sleeping in Owen's arms for the first time, Dahlia felt a peace she had never known. This was home. Not the cabin, not the mountains, but Owen himself. Wherever he was, that was where she belonged. The rest of winter passed in a blur of domestic contentment. Owen and Dahlia lived as partners in every sense of the word, sharing all aspects of their life together. They worked together, ate together, slept together, building a relationship that felt solid and right despite the world's disapproval. In late February, Owen surprised her with a small box carved from wood. Inside was a ring, simple and beautiful, made from silver he had hammered himself. "I know we cannot have a legal marriage," he said, taking her hand, "but I want you to have this anyway. A promise that I am yours and you are mine for as long as we both live. Will you have me, Dahlia Jensen? Will you be my wife in all the ways that matter?" Dahlia was crying as she nodded. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Owen slipped the ring onto her finger, and they held each other as snow fell outside, sealing their commitment with kisses and whispered promises. Spring came gradually, snow melting to reveal the green world beneath. The goats had kids, the garden began to show new growth, and the world felt full of possibility. Owen and Dahlia worked together to prepare for the year ahead, planting more crops, making repairs to the cabin, expanding the goat pen. One warm day in April, Owen went to the settlement to trade some goods and came back with surprising news. "Constable Reed wants to meet with you," he told Dahlia. "Just to talk," she said. She promised safe conduct. Dahlia was nervous but curious. Did she say what about? Something about a proposal. She was vague. They made the trip together a few days later, Dahlia tense and alert for any sign of hostility. Constable Reed met them at her office, a small building at the edge of the settlement. Her expression was neutral but not unfriendly. "Thank you for coming, Miss Jensen," she said, gesturing them to chairs. "I know this takes courage. What did you want to discuss?" Dahlia asked warily. "The settlement has been having trouble with a group of bandits operating in the northern pass," Constable Reed began. "They have been raiding our supply caravans, stealing goods, threatening travelers. We have tried to stop them, but without success." "What does this have to do with Dahlia?" Owen's voice was protective. "We need someone who knows the mountains intimately, who is strong enough to handle the rough terrain, and who has combat skills." Constable Reed looked directly at Dahlia. "I heard about your training as an orc warrior. I think you might be able to help us." Dahlia stared. "You want me to help the settlement? After everything?" "I want to offer you a way to prove yourself to the people who are afraid of you," the constable said bluntly. "If you help us with this problem, show that you are on our side and not a threat, it will go a long way toward acceptance. And frankly, we need someone with your skills." Owen and Dahlia exchanged looks. This could be a trap. It could also be a genuine opportunity. "What exactly would you need me to do?" Dahlia asked carefully. "Track the bandits to their camp. Help us plan an approach. Possibly assist in their capture or dispersal." Constable Reed leaned forward. "In exchange, I can offer you protection under settlement law, recognition as a resident with rights, and payment for your services." It was more than Dahlia had dared hope for. Legal recognition, a way to contribute to the community, proof that she was not a threat. But she was not naive enough to trust easily. "I need to think about it," she said. "Take your time. But not too much time. The bandits are getting bolder." Owen and Dahlia discussed it at length on the journey home and for several days after. Owen was protective and worried about Dahlia being put in danger, but Dahlia could see the potential in the offer. "If I do this successfully, it changes everything," she pointed out. "No more being seen as a monster. The settlement would have to accept me. And if something goes wrong, if you get hurt or they blame you anyway, then at least I tried." Dahlia took his hands. "Owen, I have been hiding my whole life. From my clan, from humans, from everyone who could not accept me. I do not want to hide anymore. I want to stand and be counted, show people that orcs are not what they think." Owen searched her face, then sighed. "You are right. I know you are. It just terrifies me, the thought of you in danger. I am a trained warrior, remember. I can handle some bandits. Promise me you will be careful." "I promise." Dahlia agreed to help, and within the week, she was leading a small group from the settlement into the northern mountains. Constable Reed came along, as did 4 experienced hunters. They were wary of Dahlia at first, but as she demonstrated her tracking skills and knowledge of the terrain, their respect grew. She found the bandit camp within 2 days, a concealed site in a canyon that explained why previous searches had failed. Dahlia scouted it carefully, noting their numbers and defenses, then helped the constable plan an approach that would minimize danger to everyone. The confrontation, when it came, was brief but intense. The bandits were surprised by the attack and quickly overwhelmed. Dahlia fought with controlled precision, taking down 3 men without killing any of them, displaying exactly the kind of disciplined strength that impressed the watching settlers. When it was over, Constable Reed clapped Dahlia on the shoulder. "Well done. You have more than earned your payment today." Word of Dahlia's role in defeating the bandits spread through the settlement quickly. When she and Owen came to town a week later, the reception was markedly different. People still stared, but with curiosity now rather than hostility. A few even nodded respectfully as they passed. At the general store, the owner hesitated before giving Dahlia a small discount on supplies. "For your help with those bandits," he said gruffly. "The settlement appreciates it." It was a start. A small crack in the wall of prejudice, but a crack nonetheless. Over the following months, that crack widened. Dahlia took on occasional work for the settlement, tracking lost livestock, helping with heavy construction work, even teaching some interested young people basic wilderness survival. She proved herself again and again as someone valuable to the community. And slowly, grudgingly, the settlement began to accept her. By the time summer arrived, Dahlia and Owen could walk through town together without causing a stir. They were still unusual, still the subject of gossip, but no longer threatened. Some settlers even became friendly, stopping to chat or invite them to community gatherings. One evening in July, almost exactly a year after Dahlia had first discovered the towel by the waterfall, Owen suggested they take a walk to that special place. They made the journey hand in hand, talking and laughing, completely comfortable with each other. The waterfall was exactly as Dahlia remembered it, the pool crystal clear, the spray catching rainbow light in the late afternoon sun. She stood on the same rock where she had found that towel and looked at Owen. "You remember the first time you saw me here?" she asked. "Every detail." Owen came to stand beside her. "I thought you were the most beautiful creature I had ever seen, and the saddest. I wanted to do something to help, even if it was just leaving you a towel. That towel changed my life. You changed mine." Owen pulled her into his arms. "Everything good in my life now comes from that moment, from choosing kindness over fear." Dahlia kissed him deeply, pouring all her love and gratitude into the gesture. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. "I want to stay here," she said, "in these mountains with you. Build a life, maybe expand the homestead. I want to prove that humans and orcs can not just coexist but thrive together." "I want that too," Owen smiled. "Although I should warn you, I have been thinking about kids. You want children someday?" Dahlia's heart swelled. She had not let herself think that far ahead, afraid to hope for too much. "With you? Yes, I want everything with you. Then we will have everything." They stayed at the waterfall until sunset, planning their future together. They would expand the cabin, add more rooms for a growing family. They would continue building bridges between the settlement and any orcs willing to try peace. They would create something new, a place where prejudice mattered less than character. As darkness fell and stars emerged overhead, Owen and Dahlia made their way home together. The path was familiar now, well worn by their feet, and Dahlia reflected on how much had changed in 1 year. She had gone from exile and despair to love and acceptance. She had found a home, a partner, a purpose. And it had all started with a simple act of kindness, a towel left on a rock by a man who chose to see a person instead of a monster. The following year brought new challenges and new joys. In the spring, Dahlia discovered she was pregnant. Owen was overjoyed, immediately becoming overprotective in ways both endearing and exasperating. The settlement, now fully accepting of Dahlia as one of their own, rallied around the couple with gifts and advice. Dahlia's pregnancy was uncomplicated, and she remained active and strong throughout. In December, with snow falling outside and Owen holding her hand, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. He had Owen's eyes and Dahlia's green-tinted skin, a perfect blend of both his parents. They named him Daniel, and he became the darling of both his parents and the settlement. As he grew, it became clear he would be the bridge between two worlds, accepted by both humans and any orcs willing to meet him. The years passed in contentment. Daniel was joined by a sister, then another brother. The cabin expanded into a proper house. Owen and Dahlia's homestead became a gathering place, somewhere people from the settlement could come to learn about orc culture, and where the few orcs willing to try peace could meet humans in a safe environment. Dahlia never heard from her clan again, but she made peace with that. She had built a new family, chosen rather than born, and it was enough. On their 10th anniversary, Owen and Dahlia returned to the waterfall once more. Their children played in the pool while the couple sat on their favorite rock, hands intertwined. "You ever regret it?" Owen asked quietly. "Giving up your clan, living in exile, all the struggles." Dahlia looked at their children, listened to their laughter, felt the warmth of Owen's hand in hers. She thought about the life they had built together, the bridges they had created, the prejudices they had overcome. "Not for a single moment," she said firmly. "Every struggle was worth it to get here, to get this. I love you, Dahlia Porter. I love you too, Owen Porter." They kissed as the waterfall roared behind them, the same waterfall where it had all begun with a frozen orc warrior, a startled human man, and a towel left on a rock. That simple gesture of kindness had blossomed into love, family, and a future neither could have imagined. And as the sun set over the mountains, painting the world in shades of gold and crimson, Dahlia reflected that sometimes the smallest acts of compassion created the greatest transformations. One towel had changed 2 lives. 2 lives had changed a community. And that community might someday change the world. But for now, this moment was enough. This love was enough. This family was enough. They had found their happily ever after, and they would fight to keep it for all the years to come. The waterfall continued its eternal song, witness to their joy, guardian of their memories, symbol of where it all began. And in the laughter of their children and the strength of their love, Dahlia and Owen had found something more precious than acceptance or approval. They had found home.